It was as if time had stopped in this world. A fungal infection, ruthless and relentless, has swept the land, turning cities into deserts. Among the survivors, there is only one hope: hybrid children. But they cannot yet be called a salvation for humans. After all, these children are confined to a wheelchair because they cannot control their desire to eat a live raft. At the closed military base where these children are kept in isolation, there is an atmosphere of constant tension. Strict guards, always at the ready with machine guns, treat them like guinea pigs. Even the bland food only emphasizes their second-class status. Standing out among this strange school is Helen Justino, a soft-hearted teacher. She seems to be the only one who sees the children not as monsters, but as little people capable of a miracle. And among all the students, Melanie holds a special place in her heart. She is a bright light in this dark world. Her intelligence and wit amaze even Dr. Caroline Caldwell, a scientist conducting research on the base. To Dr. Caldwell, these children are something between a mystery and a valuable resource. One day Caldwell asks Melanie to guess a number between 1 and 20. Without hesitation, she names 13. The next morning, while getting ready for class, Melanie notices that Kenny, the boy numbered 13, is missing. This strange coincidence alarms her. Classes continued as usual. Today, Ms. Justino gave them the opportunity to write their own fictional stories. Melanie's story about a mother and child, about their tender love and separation, moved the teacher to tears. She, forgetting all the rules, gently ran her hand through Melanie's hair. This brief gesture of tenderness filled the girl with a warmth she had hardly known in her life. But in a world where even a touch can carry a threat, moments like that don't go unnoticed. Sergeant A. Parks, the rough-and-tumble commander of the guardhouse, bursts into the room and admonishes her. He reminds her that even human odor can set them off. Later, as the day draws to a close, Melanie is returned to her cell under escort. Melanie was alone, confined to a wheelchair as punishment for her insolence in front of Sergeant Parks. She thought she was going to stay that way all night. But suddenly Miss Justino appeared. She approached the cell with kindness and compassion to untie Melanie, the girl at first meeting her with a smile of gratitude. But then something changed. Ms. Justino's pleasant, warm scent stirred the dark instincts inside Melanie. Her breathing quickened, her eyes clouded, and her hands trembled. Melanie immediately asked her to leave, as she might not be responsible for herself. Ms. Justino, barely able to cope with her panic, ran out of the cell. The next day, the doctor again offered the girl a choice of rooms. This time she chose a room. She was then led to the laboratory for experiments. But no sooner had the doctor started the experiment than chaos broke out in the camp. Hungry people infected with a fungal disease broke through the defenses and flooded the area. She was left in the lab with her hands tied. The chaos outside the walls spurred her inner courage. Grabbing a scalpel, she freed herself and slipped out of the lab. Outside, panic reigned. Soldiers were fighting their way out, but their ranks were thinning. Melanie saw Ms. Justino surrounded by fire. She moved toward her, mad with hunger, but at the same time driven by the desire to save her teacher. But darkness took possession of her mind. Ms. Justino found Melanie lying unconscious in the midst of the battle and carried her to a rescue vehicle. With Sergeant Parks, Gallagher, and Dillon, they left the camp, but the peace was short-lived. The hungry ones attacked again, and Dillon could not escape the fate of being bitten. His agonizing scream forced Parks to do the impossible, to shoot his comrade. The town was foreign and full of new terrors. They made their way through the city on foot, hiding from packs of sleeping hungry, using a gel that masked the smell of their bodies. An abandoned hospital became a temporary shelter, but there, under the crackling of old lamps, Dr. Caldwell revealed to them the grim truth. Second-generation starving people like Melanie had been born thanks to virus-infected matter. But their mothers didn't give birth to them, and the newborns were killing their mothers from the inside out. At dawn, as rows of hungry people surrounded the building, Melanie volunteered to distract them. Being a hybrid, the infected posed no threat to her. She found a cat on the street and ate it to satisfy her hunger. Then, using a stray dog as bait, she led the hungry away, giving her group a chance to escape. In the city, her attention was drawn to a strange tower made up of the bodies of the infected. Hidden at the top of the tower were seed pods capable of spreading the disease through the air. This was the very center of the infestation. Dr. Caldwell, riddled with sepsis, was still trying to convince Miss Justino to sacrifice Melanie to create a vaccine. Melanie, released back into the streets, wandered in search of food. Her hunger wasn't just physical, it was a battle with an inner nature that wanted to subjugate her mind. While searching for food, she encountered a group of feral children. Their wild eyes followed her every step. Melanie stopped and, hidden in the shadows, watched their cruel games. Meanwhile, Gallagher had gone for provisions, unaware of the lurking danger. His absence made Miss Justino and Sergeant Parks anxious. When the group reached the site, they were confronted with a gruesome sight, the remains of Gallagher's body surrounded by bloodthirsty children. Before they could react, the wildlings surrounded them. Melanie, driven by anger and determination, rushed forward. In her hands she clutched a bat she'd found among the ruins. Fighting the leader of the group, she won, striking back with animal fury. Her ferocity stunned even those watching her from afar. The other children, seeing the death of their leader, scattered. Returning to the lab brought only new challenges. Dr. Caldwell, suffering from sepsis, realized she was wasting time. Her mind was clouded with pain, but she kept her focus on one goal: creating a vaccine. Using a gas cylinder, she rendered everyone unconscious: Melanie, Ms. Justino, and Sergeant Parks. When Melanie awoke, Dr. Caldwell was already preparing to begin the procedure. But Melanie, using her strength and sharp mind, managed to escape. Caldwell chased after her, but her weak body couldn't take it. Attracted by the noise, the feral children pounced on the doctor, leaving her with only pitiful remnants. The infestation tower loomed over the city like a beacon of doom. Melanie reached it and made a decision that changed the world. Setting the seed pods on fire, she watched the spores fly into the air. On the way out, she ran into Sergeant Parks. He was breathing heavily, his body already beginning to succumb to the effects of the spores. He begged her to get her gun and shoot him to avoid the agonizing transformation. Melanie complied with his request with a heavy heart. A new world opened up before Ms. Justino. From her airtight laboratory, she watched the spores fall, the remnants of humanity giving way to a new species. Her gaze met Melanie's through the sealed door. It was a world that no longer belonged to humans, but it could still be a world of learning and hope. Ms. Justino continued to teach Melanie and the feral children, keeping a distance separated by a barrier. Melanie, who had become their leader, began to teach them how to talk, think, and build something new. It was a compromised world where nature had taken over, but there was still a spark of humanity. If you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe and like the channel. See you soon.